They say the people closest to us are the ones with the most power to break us. This story, it's not just about love. It's about betrayal, confusion, and the kind of secret that could tear everything apart. It's the story of a girl in JSS 3 named Emily, a quiet, book-loving teenager who never imagined that one day, she'd fall for the one person she was never supposed to, her best friend's brother. It started like most things do, small and innocent. Emily had just become best friends with a girl named Bella. Bella was everything Emily wasn't: bold, outgoing, full of energy. The kind of person who walked into a room and instantly became the center of attention. Emily. She was softer, a little withdrawn. The kind of girl who found comfort in novels, sketchbooks, and silence. Bella invited Emily to her house one Friday after school. It was one of those hot afternoons where the sun refused to go down. Emily, nervous but excited, followed her home. She was still adjusting to the newness of their friendship when Jason walked into the room. Jason, Bella's older brother. He was in SS2. Broad-shouldered. The kind of boy who didn't just walk, he carried presence. Shirtless, with a bowl of cereal in his hand, he glanced at Emily and asked casually, "You're Emily, right?" She nodded, almost too quickly. He smiled. Nice name. And just like that, something shifted. Not for Jason, at least not yet. But for Emily. That moment stayed with her. That smile, that simple compliment, it looped in her head like a favorite song. She knew it didn't mean anything. She knew he probably smiled like that at every girl. But even then, it meant something to her. As weeks passed, Emily became a regular in Bella's house. Her presence turned familiar. Bella's mom adored her. Her dad called her, "our second daughter." She belonged there. And that meant, naturally, she kept seeing Jason. He'd breeze in and out of the living room. Sometimes he teased her about the books she read. Other times he'd ask questions just to hear her answer. Slowly, he started noticing her. Not just as his sister's friend, but something else. One rainy afternoon, Bella dozed off during a movie, and Jason sat beside Emily. Just the two of them. They talked. For hours. About school. Life. Dreams. Expectations. He opened up in a way most boys his age wouldn't. He told her about the pressure of being the firstborn. How their dad wanted him to be perfect. How sometimes, he wished he could disappear and just be nobody. And Emily listened. The kind of listening that doesn't just hear words but hears pain, hears truth. That night, something changed. Quietly, Emily found herself looking at Jason differently. Her heart started reacting to the sound of his voice, the way he laughed, the way he said her name. It wasn't just a crush, it felt deeper. More dangerous. More real. But she never said a word. Because Bella had made something very clear, her brother was off limits. She even joked about it once while they were doing homework. "If any of my friends try to catch feelings for Jason, I'm done. No second chances." Emily laughed nervously back then. But she knew Bella meant it. So she kept her feelings to herself. Until Jason started texting her. At first, the messages were innocent, book recommendations, song lyrics, random memes. But then came the late-night texts. The check-ins. The jokes only they understood. The subtle compliments. One night, he messaged her. "Do you ever feel like someone understands you more than they should?" She paused, then typed back, "Yes, every time I talk to you." His reply came 5 minutes later. "Good. Because I feel the same way." From that moment, everything changed. Jason became her secret, her safe space, her midnight thoughts and early morning butterflies. But secrets like that, they don't stay secrets forever. And when they unravel, they take everything with them. After that night, when Jason said he felt the same way, everything changed for Emily. But it wasn't dramatic, not at first. There were no grand confessions in the hallway or flowers in her locker. No, it was subtle, careful, the kind of love that hides in between text messages and shared glances when no one's watching. They became each other's favorite distraction. At school, Jason barely looked her way. He was too popular, too careful. But late at night, when the world quieted down and Bella was fast asleep, Jason's messages would light up Emily's phone. "Did you eat today? I can't sleep. I wish I could talk to you without hiding." Sometimes, they'd stay up until 2 a.m. Just talking. No emojis. No games. Just honesty. And for a girl like Emily, who never really felt like she belonged anywhere, Jason's attention felt like magic. But magic comes with a price. She started feeling guilty. Every time Bella called her sister, every time they laughed together during lunch, a little part of Emily's stomach twisted. She was lying. Every day. And it wasn't just a small lie, it was a growing secret. One that could destroy the one friendship that had ever truly felt like home. This continued throughout JS3 until they entered SS1 while Jason moved to SS3. Then came the turning point. It was a Saturday. Bella had invited a few friends over to celebrate her 15th birthday. Nothing fancy, just snacks, music, and silly games. Emily was there, of course, helping out, smiling, pretending everything was normal. Jason showed up halfway through the evening. He didn't say much. Just greeted everyone and disappeared into the kitchen. But Emily felt him. Every step he took. Every time his eyes drifted in her direction. At one point, while Bella was distracted dancing to some loud music, Emily went to the backyard to get some air. That's when Jason followed her. They didn't speak at first. Just stood there, under the dark sky, the sound of muffled laughter and music pouring out from the house. Then Jason said, "I hate hiding." Emily didn't say anything. He took a step closer. "Do you feel it too? This thing between us?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "Yes." He looked at her, long and hard, like he was trying to memorize her face. Then he said the one thing that changed everything. "I want to be with you. Not secretly. Not like this." Emily's heart raced. The moment she had dreamt of was here, but it wasn't perfect. Because to say yes meant betraying Bella. And to say no felt like denying everything she had ever wanted. So she did what most people do when they're scared. She said, "Not yet." Jason didn't argue. He just nodded. But something about his silence scared her more than any fight ever could. The next few weeks became a blur of stolen moments and suffocating guilt. Emily started pulling away from Bella, making excuses not to hang out. She thought it would make things easier, but it only made Bella suspicious. And when best friends get suspicious, they start noticing things they weren't meant to see. One afternoon, Bella asked the question Emily had feared the most. "Is there something going on between you and Jason?" Emily froze. She had two choices: lie and protect the secret, or tell the truth and risk it all. She lied. She said no, swore by it, even forced out a laugh to make it believable. Bella relaxed, smiled. Good. Because that would be messed up. But the guilt, it didn't go away. If anything, it got worse. For most people, guilt fades over time. But for Emily, it grew. Like a shadow that only got darker as her feelings for Jason got deeper. She tried to distract herself, drawing more, studying harder, spending less time at Bella's house. But nothing worked. Because love doesn't go away just because you tell it to. And Jason, he wasn't helping. He had stopped pretending. The way he looked at her, it was different now. More direct. Like he didn't want to hide anymore. And one Tuesday afternoon, everything changed. Bella had extra lessons that day and asked Emily to wait for her at their house. Jason was home alone. Emily wanted to say no. She really did. But some part of her hoped something would happen. And something did. They sat on the couch, watching TV in silence. Jason kept stealing glances at her. She felt his eyes, felt the tension rising. Then, without warning, he spoke. "I don't like this," he said softly. Emily turned to him, her voice cautious. "Like what?" "This pretense. You pretending you don't feel what I feel. Me pretending I'm okay with it." Before she could reply, he leaned in. Not with force, but with quiet certainty. "I think about you all the time, Emily. I've never felt this way about anyone." Then came the kiss. Slow, gentle, honest. The kind of kiss that says, "I've been waiting for this. I've been dreaming of this. And now, finally, it's real." When he pulled away, there was a moment of silence. Not awkward, just full. Full of everything unspoken. Then he asked, in the softest voice, "Will you be my girlfriend?" She didn't even think twice. "Yes," she whispered, like the answer had been waiting inside her since JSS3. And just like that, Emily's secret dream became her secret reality. The days that followed felt like a teenage fairy tale, hidden, thrilling, and too good to be true. They texted all day, exchanged voice notes late into the night, shared playlists, and had inside jokes that no one else understood. Jason would walk past her in school like she didn't exist, but then sneak her a look that made her stomach flutter. They created a language without words. A glance here, a tap there, a smile when no one was watching. Weekends were the best. Emily would visit Bella, but she was really going to see him. Sometimes they'd sit close under the guise of watching a movie. Other times, he'd find a way to walk her halfway home, just for a few stolen minutes of real time together. It was risky. Every moment came with a pulse of fear. But they were addicted to it, the secrecy, the danger, the love. They sent each other silly memes. Shared dreams for the future. Talked about universities, and what it would be like if they didn't have to hide anymore. Jason once told her, "I wish I met you in a different way. Not as my sister's best friend. Just as mine." Emily smiled, knowing she wished the same. For a while, it felt perfect. Until one day, everything changed. Bella was over at Emily's house, finishing up a school project. Her phone died, and like always, she reached for Emily's. "Can I use your phone for a sec?" she asked. "Yeah, sure," Emily replied, too quickly. Bella unlocked it, checked what she needed, but as she closed out of the browser, her thumb accidentally tapped the voice recorder app. And there it was, a saved voice note from Jason. "Hey, Em, I miss you. Sleep well." Bella paused. The voice was unmistakable. She looked at Emily. Didn't say a word. Just handed the phone back. Her face didn't show anger. Not yet. Just something colder. An hour later, after she left, Emily's phone buzzed. Just 5 words. "You lied to me." "Why?" Emily stared at the screen. Her hands went cold. Bella knew. And now, there was no going back. The message stayed on Emily's screen for almost an hour before she could bring herself to reply. "Bella, please let me explain." But Bella didn't respond. Not that night. Not the next day. At school, Bella avoided her. No eye contact. No, hey, nothing. Just silence. The kind that cuts deeper than any insult ever could. Emily tried to catch her after class, twice, but Bella would walk away. The third time, Emily grabbed her arm. "Please, just talk to me." Bella turned, and for the first time, Emily saw it. Not just anger, but hurt. "I trusted you," Bella said, her voice steady but shaking. "You were the one person I believed would never lie to me." "I didn't mean to," Emily whispered. "You kissed my brother. You became his girlfriend. You came to my house, smiled with me, laughed with me, all while lying." Emily blinked back tears. "It wasn't planned. I tried to fight it. I didn't want to hurt you. But you did." And then Bella said something Emily never forgot. "You didn't just lose me, Em. You broke me." She walked away. And this time, she didn't look back. Emily stood there, frozen, watching the only real friend she had, disappear. The next few days were heavy. Jason tried to comfort her, but even he could feel the shift. "This is my fault," he said. "I shouldn't have let it get this far." But Emily shook her head. "No, we both chose this." Still, things weren't the same. What once felt exciting now felt poisoned. They couldn't laugh without guilt. Couldn't touch without wondering who was watching. The whispers started. Bella told a few people. Maybe not everything, but enough. Suddenly, girls in class were giving Emily side eyes. People she didn't even know were whispering as she walked past. One girl muttered, "Backstabber," under her breath as Emily sat down. It was like drowning in a room full of people pretending not to see you. Jason tried to defend her, at first. But even he was caught between two worlds. His loyalty to his sister, and his love for Emily. The pressure started cracking them. They fought more. Emily became insecure. "Are you ashamed of me?" she asked one evening. Jason sighed, rubbing his face. "No, I'm just tired. Everything's messed up. My family barely talks to me. Bella hates me. You're hurting. I don't know how to fix this." Emily looked down. "So you want to end it?" He didn't answer right away. That pause. It was enough. She left before he could say more. For the next 2 weeks, they barely spoke. No calls. No voice notes. Just silence where there used to be so much love. Emily fell into herself. She stopped drawing. Stopped singing in the shower. Her grades dropped. She started skipping lunch just to avoid sitting alone. And then, one day, he came back. Jason showed up at her school gate after closing. He didn't say, "Hi." He didn't ask how she was. He just hugged her, tight, like he had finally decided. "I don't care what anyone thinks anymore," he whispered. "I love you. And I'm done hiding. I am in SS3, so no big deal." It was messy. It was risky. But it was real. They kissed. Right there. In the open. A few people saw. Some stared. Some whispered. But for the first time, Emily didn't care. She had lost her best friend. Maybe her reputation. But in that moment, she had love. And sometimes, that's all we're left with. After that kiss at the school gate, something changed again. Not in the world around Emily, but in her. For the first time in weeks, she felt a strange kind of peace. Like even though everything was still broken, at least one thing wasn't, Jason still chose her. They started walking together after school. Quietly, at first, holding hands when no one was looking. A few brave days later, they stopped caring altogether. Some students talked, some stared, some rolled their eyes, but Jason never let go of her hand. And that meant everything. They became that couple, the one everyone either gossiped about or secretly admired. The girl who broke the girl code, and the boy who didn't care. But not everyone was judging. A few people started seeing it for what it really was, two teenagers in love, trying to survive high school, pain, and pressure. They began meeting at a small corner near Emily's house. It became their place. Just a small concrete bench near a half-dead tree. No one really sat there, except them. That's where they'd talk about life. The future. University plans. Career dreams. Jason wanted to study engineering. Emily wanted to go into animation or design. "I'll be your first client," Jason would joke. "I'll need you to design a logo for my future tech company." And Emily would smile. "Only if you agree to name it something that doesn't sound like a toothpaste brand." They laughed again. It felt good to laugh. But the truth was, even though the world around them started to quiet down, the pain hadn't left completely. Bella still wasn't speaking to Emily. She had unfollowed her on every social media platform. Deleted their pictures. Ignored every message, every attempt at reconciliation. Emily tried one last time. She wrote a long letter. Poured everything out, how it started, how she never meant to hurt her, how love wasn't something she planned. She apologized again and again. No reply. No reaction. Just silence. That hurt more than all the insults and rumors put together. And even Jason, despite his love, began carrying a quiet sadness. His family wasn't the same. Bella barely spoke to him. Their parents had noticed the shift. His dad even confronted him once, asking if he was ruining things over a schoolgirl. Jason didn't say much in return. But Emily could tell, it wore him down. One night, as they sat on the bench, Jason rested his head on her shoulder and whispered, "What if I'm the reason everything in my family is falling apart?" Emily turned to him. "You're not. But it feels like it. You followed your heart. That's never wrong." He didn't reply. Just held her hand tighter. They stayed that way for a long time. No words. Just silence and streetlight shadows. Two teenagers, bound by love, haunted by loss. Because sometimes, even the strongest love can't fix the things it breaks. But Emily. She held on. To the love. To the hope. To the boy who still chose her, day after day. After the kiss at the school gate, the world didn't explode. But for Emily, it transformed. She and Jason were no longer hiding. They weren't making announcements or shouting it through the halls, but they weren't running anymore either. For the first time since the beginning, their love had space to breathe. It showed up in little things. In how Jason waited for her at the school gate every morning, holding her water bottle like it was his job. In how they stayed after school, side by side in the library, helping each other with homework, prepping for tests, or just sitting quietly in comfortable silence. Sometimes, when the librarian wasn't watching, Jason would pass her handwritten notes. Nothing cheesy, just thoughtful things like, "If you doubt yourself again, I'll remind you of who you are." Or, "Focus, baby genius. Final exams doesn't pass itself. When the library got too full or loud, they will go to the school garden, this quiet, overgrown patch behind the science block. It wasn't much, but it was theirs. They will sit under the tree, their backs against the wall, solving math problems and arguing over literature quotes. Sometimes they wouldn't even study, they'd just sit and talk about life, about the future, about who they were becoming. Their grades soared. First term, they both improved. Second term, Jason ranked in the top 5 for the first time ever, and Emily finally got the recognition she deserved in art and literature. Teachers noticed. Some even complimented the change. It was the calm before the next storm. Because life, as always, doesn't like when things get too peaceful. By third term, the pressure started to build again. Jason's final exams were here. The one that mattered. The one that would decide everything. That's when things shifted. He became less present. More distracted. Replies to her messages got shorter. He skipped their study sessions. He said things like, "I'm just tired," or, "I'll call you back," and never did. Emily didn't complain at first. But after weeks of being pushed to the background, she finally asked him, "Are we okay?" He looked up from his notes, sighing. "What do you mean? You feel far. Even when you're sitting next to me." Jason dropped his pen. Everything's just a lot right now. I'm trying. I know," she said. "But love isn't just about trying when it's convenient." That hit him. But he didn't argue. He didn't explain either. Emily left that day with tears in her throat. A whole week passed. No texts. No calls. Until the following Monday. Jason showed up outside her classroom right before school ended. His eyes looked tired, but honest. "Can we talk?" She didn't say a word. Just followed. He led her to the garden, their spot. And then he spoke. "I messed up. I let the pressure of exams push you away. But I never stopped loving you. Never." He reached for her hand. "I just didn't know how to balance everything. It felt like the whole world was sitting on my chest." Emily didn't say anything for a moment. Then she asked softly, "Do you still want this? Us?" He nodded without hesitation. More than anything, she forgave him. Because some love stories aren't about avoiding pain, they're about surviving it together. And together, they made it through his final term. Graduation day was emotional. Emily watched him receive his certificate from the crowd, her heart bursting with pride and sadness at the same time. That evening, she took him out to dinner. Just the two of them. She wore a sky blue dress. He wore a dark shirt and his favorite watch. They laughed, took pictures, held hands across the table. That night, under the moonlight as he walked her home, Jason whispered, "No matter where I go after this night stays with me." The holiday that followed was the closest thing they had to magic. Jason invited Emily to his house more often now. His parents, especially his mom, had come around. They saw the goodness in Emily, the way she brought out the best in their son. Even his dad, who once said she was a distraction, had softened. Bella remained distant, but at least the house wasn't full of tension anymore. A few weeks later, their results came out and Jason passed his WEC with flying colors, giving him the opportunity to apply for the study abroad opportunity the school provided for the best students. Jason and Emily spent their days learning coding together through YouTube tutorials, online courses, personal projects. Jason said he wanted her to know the basics too, so they could build cool things together in the future. And they did. They designed a mini web app for fun. Nothing fancy. But it was theirs. Proof that they were more than lovebirds, they were partners. Dreamers. It was the most peaceful time of Emily's teenage years. Until the second week of school resumption. She had just stepped into SS2. Jason met her at the gate after school, looking nervous. He held out a paper. Her hands trembled as she unfolded it. An admission letter. University of Toronto. Department of Computer and Electrical Engineering. Full academic scholarship. She looked up. Jason's eyes were already glossy. He didn't speak. Because how do you explain joy, when it comes wrapped in heartbreak? The admission letter changed everything. Not because Emily didn't expect it, she always knew Jason was brilliant, always knew this moment would come. But knowing something is coming doesn't make it hurt any less when it finally arrives. He was leaving. In less than 3 months, Jason would be on a plane to Canada. A whole new life. A whole new world. A place where Emily couldn't follow, not yet. They sat at the garden that evening, the letter between them like an invisible wall. "I should be happy," Emily whispered. "I am happy." Jason reached for her hand. "Then why do you look like you're about to cry?" She smiled, weakly. "Because I don't know what happens next." Neither of them did. The days that followed were strange, sweet but heavy. Jason still showed up, still held her hand, still called her Em like it was a prayer. But everything felt like a countdown. They started making memory lists. Favorite food spots. Favorite walk paths. Favorite street corners. Jason gave her his favorite hoodie. She gave him a sketch she'd drawn of their garden, just the two of them under the tree. They promised they'd video call. Every day. They swore they'd update each other on everything, school, coding, random dreams. But late at night, when the world was quiet, Emily would stare at her ceiling and wonder. What if this is the beginning of the end? Jason's travel date drew closer. His family planned a small farewell gathering. Emily was there, sitting beside his mom, helping serve drinks, forcing smiles. Bella was there too, cordial, polite, but still guarded. Jason kept stealing glances at Emily throughout the evening. Not in a dramatic way. Just enough to say, "I see you. I'm still with you." The night before his flight, he called her. They didn't talk about the future. They just talked about the past. All the moments. The notes in class. The garden. The first kiss. The way she always tied her hair when she was nervous. The way he always said, "I'm fine," when he really wasn't. Then silence. Until Jason whispered, "You changed me, Em. You made me better." She swallowed hard. "You made me believe I could be loved." The next morning, she watched his flight leave from the airport glass. She didn't cry in public. But her heart did. And that's when a new chapter began. The first week after Jason left was the hardest. Not because anything had gone wrong, far from it. They texted. They video called. He sent her pictures of his dorm room, of Toronto's cold mornings, of his new routine. He even showed her a maple tree and said, "Doesn't look half as nice as our garden." Emily laughed, cried a little after. But things were okay. At first, they had schedules, planned when to talk, when to study, when to code together. Jason would wake up early just to catch Emily after school. And Emily, she'd stay up late, sometimes dozing off with her earphones in, waiting for his, "Good night, Em." But slowly, the cracks began to form. Not from betrayal. From reality. Jason got busier. Classes were intense. New friends. Group projects. A part-time job. His messages became shorter. His replies slower. Emily understood. She wanted to understand. But she also missed him, deeply. Painfully. Sometimes, she'd stare at their old chats, reread his voice notes. She stopped sending long texts because they went unanswered for hours. Stopped calling unannounced. Stopped saying, "I miss you," first. Because the silence that followed hurt too much. One night, after waiting 3 hours for a call that never came, she sent just one message: "I feel like I'm losing you." Jason replied at 2:13 a.m., "I'm sorry. Today was crazy. But I'm still here. Don't give up on me." She didn't. For weeks, she kept showing up. Kept believing. Kept hoping that the distance was just a phase. But hope doesn't always hold things together. The time zones became a wall. The calls less frequent. Jason started missing milestones, her school debate, her art exhibition, her birthday. He would apologize. And she would say, "It's fine." Even when it wasn't. One evening, after school, Emily sat alone in the garden. The tree still stood. The bench still held its shape. But Jason was no longer beside her. That was the moment she realized. She wasn't just missing him anymore. She was grieving what they used to be. Time didn't stop for Emily after that quiet ending. Life moved forward. But for her, it moved, without color. She still woke up early, still went to school, still smiled when she needed to. But everything felt dim. Her days were quiet. Her nights, quieter. Jason was gone. Not just physically, but emotionally, too. And Bella, still distant. So Emily moved through life like a shadow of herself. There were no inside jokes at lunch anymore. No spontaneous walks after class. No, "babe," in her notifications. No hand to hold when the world felt too heavy. Just silence. She poured herself into her schoolwork, trying to stay focused. She still had 2 years left. 2 long years in a school that felt more empty than ever. She started spending more time in the library, alone. Returned to sketching in her notebooks. And sometimes, she'd sit in the school garden, not because she expected anyone to show up, but because memories have a way of keeping us company even when people don't. Then one Thursday afternoon, something unexpected happened. She was packing her books into her bag after prep when a familiar voice spoke behind her. "Can we talk?" Emily froze. She turned. Bella. For a moment, neither of them said anything. Just two girls standing across the space time had carved between them. Then Bella spoke again. "I'm sorry it took me this long." Emily didn't trust her voice, so she nodded. They walked out to the garden in silence, an echo of who they once were. When they sat, Bella took a deep breath. "I wasn't just mad at you because you dated Jason," she said. "It was more than that." Emily looked at her. "I've always felt like Jason was the only thing in our family that made sense," Bella continued. "When our parents fought, when school was hard, Jason was stable. He was the one who protected me, who stood up for me. And I guess, I was scared. That if he gave his heart to someone else, there'd be less left for me." Emily's heart ached. "I never wanted to take him from you," she said softly. "I loved him, but I always wanted to keep you too." Bella wiped a tear away quickly. "I know. I see that. Now. They sat in silence again, this time with something gentle between them. Look, Bella added, I don't know if things will ever be exactly the same, but I miss my best friend. Emily smiled through tears. I miss you too. That was the beginning. Not a perfect reset, but a rebuilding. Bella didn't ask for every detail about Jason. She didn't offer advice. But she was there. She'd sit with Emily during lunch again. She'd distract her with gossip and books and jokes. And during those moments when Emily's voice cracked or her eyes watered, Bella would simply hold her hand and whisper, one day at a time, Em. It didn't fix everything, but it made the loneliness feel less permanent. By SS3, Emily was back on her feet, emotionally stronger, more focused. She finished secondary school with distinction. Got into university to study animation and design, just like she always wanted. She didn't text Jason when she got her admission letter. Not because she didn't want to, but because she didn't know if he still cared. She moved on, slowly. There were guys who showed interest. Friendly chats. 1 or 2 coffee dates. But her heart still held the shape of a boy who once kissed her under a tree and promised he wouldn't let go. She never stopped wondering what would happen when he came back. But it's now 4 years. That's how long it had been. 4 whole years since Jason walked through airport glass and out of Emily's world. In those years, Emily had become someone else. She wasn't the shy, unsure girl who needed someone to complete her. She was in her 2nd year of university now, independent, focused, and healing in her own quiet way. She still thought of Jason, but not the way she used to. Not with pain. Just with wonder. The way you think about someone who shaped you deeply but lives in a different chapter now. And then, one evening in April, he came back. She didn't know at first. There was no warning text. She found out through Bella. They had stayed close since their reconciliation, sisters again in every way that mattered. They were at a small cafe near campus, sipping cold drinks, when Bella casually said, "Oh, Jason's back." Emily froze, mid-sip. "What? He flew in this morning. 4 years already, can you believe? Dad sent him to pick up his new passport." Emily's heart skipped, but she tried to play it cool. "Oh, that's nice." Bella raised an eyebrow but didn't press. Later that night, Emily couldn't sleep. She kept wondering, did he still remember? Did he miss her? Had he changed? She found the answers 2 days later. It was a Saturday. She was walking out of a campus bookstore with her laptop bag slung across her shoulder when she heard someone say her name. Emily. She turned. And time did that thing it sometimes does, froze for just a second, as if to give your heart time to catch up. There he was. Jason. A little taller. More defined jawline. But same eyes. Same voice. Same way of saying her name like it meant something. She opened her mouth but no words came. He smiled, softly. "Hey." She nodded. "Hi." They stood awkwardly for a moment, 2 people who had once shared everything, now strangers trying to find the right sentence to start again. "You look grown," he said. She smiled. "You too." Then he got quiet. "I've thought about this moment for years," he said. "And now that I'm here, I don't know what to say." Emily looked at him. Her voice didn't shake this time. "Maybe start with why you stopped calling." Jason looked down. "I didn't mean to fade out. Life got fast. Hard. And somewhere along the way, I convinced myself you were better off without the version of me that kept failing you." She swallowed. "You didn't fail me. You just stopped choosing me." He nodded. "You're right." Silence again. Not angry. Not cold. Just full. Then she asked, "Why are you here?" He met her eyes. "Because I needed to see if the version of you I kept alive in my head was still real." And Jason took a deep breath. "She's real. And stronger than ever." Emily's eyes softened. "Too late?" he asked gently. She thought about it. About the years. The pain. The growth. The girl she used to be. The woman she was now. Then she said, "I don't know yet. But you can walk with me." So they did. No hand holding. No kisses. Just quiet steps. Together again, but different. Because sometimes, love doesn't pick up where it left off. Sometimes, it starts again. Not every love story ends with a perfect fairy tale. Some end with peace. Some with a new beginning. And some, with both. Jason and Emily didn't rush anything after that bookstore meeting. They exchanged numbers again, but this time, there were no fireworks. Just quiet curiosity. Messages came once in a while. Small talk. Shared memories. They met for coffee once or twice. Walked around campus together. Talked about where life had taken them. Jason told her about his final year in Canada, how homesick he had been, how lonely some nights felt even when surrounded by people. He admitted he used to check her Instagram quietly, hoping she was happy. Emily told him about university. Her design projects. The solo trips she'd taken to spark creativity. How she'd learned to be alone without feeling lonely. They laughed at old jokes. Sat in comfortable silence. And sometimes, they just stared out at nothing, wondering about everything that could have been. But they didn't kiss. They didn't hold hands. They didn't say I still love you. Because what they had now wasn't the same. It was softer, slower, wiser. One afternoon, as they sat on the steps of an old university lecture hall, Jason looked at her and said, "You know, I used to think you were the love of my life." Emily turned, met his eyes. "I used to think that too." He smiled. "Maybe we were each other's lesson. The love that teaches you how to love." Emily nodded. "And the loss that teaches you how to grow." They didn't cry. Because this wasn't a heartbreak. It was a release. They stood. Jason hugged her, tight, like he meant it, like it would be the last time. And maybe it was. As he pulled away, he said, "Wherever life takes you, I'll always root for you." Emily smiled. "Same here." And with that, he walked away. No drama. No regrets. Just two people who had once been everything to each other. Now becoming something else. A memory. A lesson. A beautiful first. And that is how Emily's story went. A girl who fell in love too deeply, lost too painfully, and still rose with grace. Because some stories aren't about happy endings. They're about beautiful chapters. And sometimes, growing up means learning how to let go. Not out of anger, not out of bitterness, but out of love, for them, and for yourself. Thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe for more.